Welcome to Slow Your Scroll, where we get to meet some of Hawaii's biggest social media stars. Today, we're joined by one of Hawaii's premier restaurant reviewers. Her name, Taylor Date, but you probably know her as Townie Tay. Taylor, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. I want to just start with the big question is, how did you get started?
For me, I started during the pandemic, and I think a lot of us in 2020, we're in quarantine, kind of searching for things to do, trying out new hobbies. And for me, one of those things was downloading TikTok and, kind of learning how short form video content works. And I had actually gotten laid off during the pandemic, so I had a lot of free time for a few months, and I was trying to figure out my next steps in life. And I just started putting out videos. I have a background in social media marketing. Somewhat, I studied it in college. I had some work post-college work doing that. And I kind of just went for it. I took what I knew and, evaluated what other creators around the world were doing. And I kind of went for it. And I feel very lucky and blessed that I was able to grow a following. And now this is I call it my full-time side hustle.
That is an awesome background story. So what made you gravitate towards food? Did you have a culinary background at all, or did you grow up watching the Food Network and travel shows or anything like that? What made you go to the food reviewing side of it?
I think for me, I always recommend when you are working in the social media space, you kind of have to niche down initially. And I've always been someone that I would say that I really enjoy new experiences. And I like to explore different things. So that's my primary focus is really trying out new things and sharing about it. And something that just came easily for me was food. I've always had an interest in food. I love going to cute coffee shops. And then I also enjoy checking out new small businesses. And I think especially during the pandemic, I really wanted to highlight small businesses. Since it was something I already did, exploring different restaurants and food, I just decided to focus in on the food idea. And then now that I've been doing it for a few years now, I've been able to expand that to more Hawaii lifestyle, small businesses like clothing brands and different kind of shopping experiences, as well as just activities. So it was a really great avenue for me to kind of segue.
What is your favorite favorite type of thing to review? Is it the food? Is it an experience? Is it clothing? Because I've seen you get to get styled and get jewelry and stuff. Which is your favorite?
My heart is in reviewing food and different things, but I actually, nowadays I've been really enjoying doing different experiences and kind of sharing about it. I kind of had a full circle moment recently where maybe 7 years ago when I was in college, I interned for Servco. That's right out here in Mapunapuna area, and they do Toyota, Lexus, different marketing brands. So I was their marketing intern, and then recently they got me on to help them promote their Lexus lounge for the Sony Open. So I kind of showcased about the Sony opening the Sony Open happening this weekend, as well as talking about the Lexus lounge. So for me, that was kind of a cool full circle moment that I got to cross paths with my own internship, and I'm also reviewing a local activity as well.
Did you have a specific video or a time or a point in time that you saw all of a sudden you were gaining followers and you were like, wow, this is blowing up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna go with kind of late into 2021. So that was about a year into doing what I did. Initially, when I first started, reel content on Instagram wasn't activated even yet, and then they kind of took that concept from TikTok and implemented it into Instagram. And so I just started going for the video content, and I think I did get lucky in the sense I was one of the first like local creators to put out a little more short form video on Instagram. And so I think by the end of 2021, I did start to see like a little more traction. I did like a recap video of like my different food adventures. And then I also talked about what else was I doing? Wyola Bakehouse or Waioli Tea House. That's up in Manoa. I did this like cute little video there, and it kind of like blew up. And from there on, I kind of got hints of like, new and unique experiences blowing up online, and that's kind of where I was finding my stride, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different food reviewers out there. How do you separate yourself? Like, why do you think people gravitate towards your page? Because you have 35,000 followers, right? But if I started a food review right now, I don't think I would gain that much. So what brings people to your page?
Thankfully, I do feel like our local food community, we have like a bunch of foodies locally, and everyone's very supportive. I think everyone kind of has their own look and feel, which is nice. I definitely think, my name's Townie Tay on Instagram, and I kind of target like the townie demographic. So I think of someone like me, kind of in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, and, they may have like extra disposable income. They want to like try new things. The feedback I get a lot of the time is from my guy friends or random guys. They'll be like, my girlfriend sent me your video and they want to go to this spot. So like that's my target demographic, is like girls like me who kind of want to try new things, want to step outside their comfort zone. Some of the activities I do, they do cost money, so I do sometimes hit like the dinks. I don't know if you heard of that term. It's like double income, no kids.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Or dinkwad.
Yeah.
It's like double income, no kids with
Yeah.
dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, that would definitely be like my target demographic, I'd say.
Okay. You talked about you were able to work with some of the people you interned with at one point, and it was a full circle moment. But for the other restaurants that you don't really have a background with, how do you link up with them? Did they reach out to you, or do you reach out to them and say, hey, I want to shoot a video? Or like, how do you set up all these different reviews and stuff?
90% of the time, I really just get like DMs or emails from different businesses here on the islands, and we just go from there. I guess I haven't had like a lull in what I've been doing that I've had to reach out really to businesses, unless I'm really interested and I'm like curious about it. But I'm also really down to just spend my own money and like, and share about it too, if it's something I'm interested in, because I think at the end of the day, social media has to be authentic to you and your interests. So for me, I do mostly take on projects that I think align with like my brand and what my followers would be interested in. And if I have time, I try to explore outside of that. But for the most part, because it's also not my full-time job, I do try to be selective about what I'm promoting on my page.
Yeah. So have you ever gone to a restaurant and the food or the service is not what you expected or not what you'd hoped, and another way of saying it was just bad, it was a bad experience, and then what do you do in that situation? Because not every experience can be good.
There, you can't have like a perfect experience every time. I do try to do my research before going to restaurants, whether it's looking at their Yelp page or Google reviews, just to kind of get a feel for what people are saying and what dishes like tend to do well, what's their buzzworthy items. But for the most part, if I just across the board don't enjoy the experience, I will try to just like pay for it, even if it's like a collaboration, and in the sense like a business would be covering my meal. If I really didn't enjoy it and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do this, and I'll pay for it, or like I will just like post stories. But and then there's always like restaurants where, maybe I like some things and I don't like other things. And in that case, I'll really only focus on the things I like. There's a lot of different creators on the internet, and I love watching like those very like honest food reviewers. Like I think it's super cool. But for me personally, because I'm not a food critic, I don't really have a culinary background. For me, I don't feel comfortable doing that, like that more honest route. So across the board, I just try to keep it positive. I think for me that works, and I feel less pressure, especially because I work so closely with these businesses and I see what they go through that I don't really want to bring them down in any way. So I do try to focus on the positive, and if it's negative, then I just try to omit it if at all possible.
Would you, how much or the ratio, I guess, would you say are restaurants reaching out to you and covering your meal? Because I think a lot of viewers are like, who's paying for all this? like she's eating out so much.
Yeah.
So how often would you say the restaurant is saying like, hey, Taylor, come on in and we're going to cover the meal. We just want you to make a great video for us and promote us?
I will say at this point in what I'm doing, probably like 90% of the time. So I am very at the point where I'm very lucky that I, am able to get invited to so many different restaurants and experiences, bring my friends and family to help me shoot content. But yes, at this point, it is like majority of the time just because I only have so much time that I can work on videos too. But I also really want to make it a point that if there's something I'm interested, then I want to showcase it and pay for it myself as well.
You seem like a very positive person, so I'm not going to ask you what the worst restaurant you've ever been to, because I feel like you wouldn't tell me anyway.
I'm not.
But what's the best restaurant that you've been to?
Oh, okay.
Or it could be just recently, because I'm sure you've eaten out a lot, maybe like in the past year or past 6 months, or if one just pops out.
Well, for me, I always kind of go to Chef Chris Kajioka. He's like my favorite chef on the island. He has different establishments like Miro Kameki, and he also has a new one in Waikiki called Agaru. It's a izakaya that opened up about a year ago, I'd say. So those two restaurants I've been able to work with to maybe promote some of his offerings, and it's just for me across the board. Like I absolutely love each experience I've had there. Miro Kameki does this like prefix menu for about $80 to $90, but you get like a full, like appetizer, main, and dessert. And I think it's like a very like unique experience, like French fusion, I want to say. But he has like a local Japanese background, so you get a little flares of that. And I think it suits like the local palate really well at a elevated level. So that's like always my recommendation, especially for special occasions.
Do you have a favorite type of food? I'm sure your followers are probably like, she sees you, or they see you have so many different various restaurants, but like, what is your favorite food?
Oh, first, hands down, like Japanese and Korean food. I used to live in both Japan and Korea for study abroad or for working, so I'm always like searching for new like Japanese and Korean restaurants to check out. My favorite style of dining experience that I'll always pay for, like each year I make it a point to at least go to like one omakase on the island. So that's just like, chef's choice sushi experience. Last year I got to check out Suntory's omakase, and it's just like beautiful. They have this like intimate little sushi bar that's kind of tucked away within the restaurant, and it's just like it's a beautiful experience. You get to like see everything right in front of you. But I think, if you live in Hawaii, we have access to like some of the best seafood in the world, really. And I think omakase is always like the way to go, at least once.
Do you think that the restaurants maybe give you a better experience than some of their normal customers? Or have you ever gone into a restaurant that you reviewed for a video and then you've gone in not for a review and it's different? Have you ever experienced that sort of?
That's like a really great question. And, I'm going to be honest, I do get feedback that people didn't get the same experience I did. And I really can't, that's like, I feel for the customers in that way, but that's something that's a little tough to control for me. And I'm going to be honest, I get a little spoiled now. And in the sense, like, if I go to a restaurant and I didn't get good experience, I'm a little, I'm a positive person, but I'm a little peeved. But I'm like, you know what? Like, this is life. Like, this is what happens. And I try to, be honest with, especially like my followers. And I'm like, I'm sorry that you had that experience. I'll try to take that feedback back to the restaurant. But, sometimes it's not a one shoe fits all situation.
Kind of a more fun question. Are there any foods that you just outright refuse to eat?
Oh, you know what? I have like a pretty unique and weird palate. One food that I'm not so keen on is recently I went to review like this yatai experience at Obake. Obake is this new bar in Chinatown, or it opened about a year ago, and they have this new experience where it's an outdoor yatai food cart experience. It is so cool. Like, you sit down at this little like food cart, and they give you like omakase yakitori. Like, they have like all kinds of different yakitori, and like I absolutely loved it. But I won't really do like chicken heart. I think about it, chicken heart, and yeah, that for me is like a little bit of a stretch because I'm really big on texture. So if I don't really like the texture, like heart and liver is a little tough for me. But I mean, yeah, I pretty much eat everything, like foie gras, all the things. Like, natto is one of my favorite foods. So that can give you an idea of my palate. I have like a pretty wide range.
Is there a really weird food that you enjoy that some people are like, oh my God, like I can't believe you eat that, but there's something that you just love?
Yes, I always say like natto. And I always tell people you have to try the neba neba bowl, I believe it's called, from Pioneer Saloon. They're like a kind of like elevated Japanese bento takeout spot. And they have this bowl that has like natto, okra, yamaimo, even poke, and it's like all this neba neba means slimy in Japanese, and like all this slimy food on rice, and it's just my favorite. I love it so much. It's not for everyone though.
Off the top, I can imagine myself maybe not enjoying it. I'm not a fan of natto at all.
Yeah.
When you're doing these reviews, is there any selfish part of you that wants to keep the place a secret?
Yeah.
Like, and how do you go about that? Or do you just say like, oh, I gotta let people know, or how do you? I don't know,
yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. So last year, my boyfriend and I went to like this cute little izakaya inside J Shop, which is like it's this like little Japanese grocery store in McCully area, and they surprisingly have like a little izakaya that people don't really know about. And I took some video while I was there, and I was like, I don't want to tell anyone about this, and I wasn't invited by them. We were just going for fun. But then I was like, oh, I love it so much. I feel like I have to share about it. And it was like empty when we went. And then I was like, I felt bad that we were like the only people there serving. So I was like, I think I should, in this way, like, I think it's like amazing and I want them to do well. And sometimes too, like, I'll just straight up ask the owners, like, I do like food reviews online. Is it okay if I like share about this? Because some places kind of want to keep it low key, but other places are like, oh yeah, like please go for it. And that was one of the things. And I think like I posted a video and it got like over 100,000 views. So people are like, they really like learning about hidden gems, because sometimes, if they're not willing to try it because you're like, I don't know anything about this place.
You can't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking online, it said that your profile reaches about 300,000 accounts a month.
Oh, you saw that.
I did, yeah. So for me, I don't really know much about social media and the marketing side and reaching people and algorithms. How do you reach all those people? How do you make your account pop up in everybody's feed?
And by the way, I have like so many of my other foodie friends, and they're like way more successful than me. But we all like uplift each other. But for me, I think I focus on what I know and what I think my followers would be interested in. Um, I will say, like, to keep growing your account, I think I'm at a point where it's kind of tough to do so because the market in which I'm trying to grow in, which is like the, Hawaii. There's only so much people that live in Hawaii, maybe travel to Hawaii if I can hit those people. Um, and then people who, kind of like are interested in food and are willing to spend money on food. It's like there's only so much people you can technically reach out to. But I mean, I think you have to try to think on like how to like hook people, what people are going to be interested in. And sometimes you just have to try new things. I think I forget to do that nowadays since it's almost like a job, like like a routine on how I like shoot things, how I talk about things in my videos. But I'm like, I have to remind myself, like, no, I should try something new. I should try like a trend. So actually, this year, I feel like I want to focus more on like trying new things, putting myself in like uncomfortable situations or different editing styles that I wouldn't normally do because I want to keep trying to grow. But I also want to like satisfy like my current audience as well. So,
You you talked about the editing process, and I had a couple questions about that. Like, who shoots the video? Are you writing a script afterwards? I'm assuming you're not just ad-libbing and riffing when you're looking back at the video. Just describe the whole process from start to finish of the actual editing and putting that video together and posting it.
yeah, shooting the video, I mean, I can just sometimes I'll go to a place by myself, not always. And then I have like my friends, my mom, my family, my boyfriend, they all like help me out too, which is like so nice. But for the most part, I kind of like do all the food shots myself. And then,
Just on an iPhone or?
yeah, I'm super bare bones. I must say, like, I just have like my little gimbal and my iPhone and a light, and I just go for it. And then I have my family and friends help me shoot like shots of myself eating the food. And then I will just like, as far as the editing process goes, I actually do everything on my phone. Like, I'm super like, because I'm always on the go too. Like, as much as I'd want to switch to like using a computer to edit, I'm actually just like cool with just like on the fly, like just editing on my phone.
Do you use the Instagram's editing software,
No,
or
I
you
just
use
use
a
like an
separate?
app. Yeah.
Which
So
one?
I use InShot. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I feel like I've heard about it.
yeah, it's like CapCut,
Okay.
InShot or CapCut, one of those. Like pretty like I think everyone kind of it's just an app like most people would have, and I just like really focus on and I have a little script if I'm doing a voiceover, and try to keep the editing process to like 2 to 3 hours. Of course, I'd like to do it faster, but I feel like it's like that works for me. But yeah, I think most of my videos will take about 2 to 3 hours in total to edit.
How many videos are you trying to output a week or daily? Or
Um,
what's your?
in a perfect world, I would output something every day. But I think for me, I try to shoot for like 3 to 4 a week. I think that's like a healthy balance because it's something that I can just do like in my spare time too, which is like so great because it's just on my phone, right? I'm always editing. So anytime I have free time, I just kind of like pop open the app, try to edit. I'll try to write some things when I have time, when I'm at the gym. Yeah, like I'm a little bit crazy. Like, so for me, I just don't have free time, and that's okay. Cause like this is like what I love to do, and I also love my full time job, but I also love this, so I got to make it work somehow, right?
I appreciate you writing the scripts and everything, because obviously here in Hawaii News Now, obviously we write scripts every day. How long does it take you to come up with, what you're gonna say, and how many takes does it take for you to get it? And are you just recording it into your phone?
I know, and my voice memo app on my iPhone is just like loaded with different. You'll hear me like I'll be like, ugh, when I mess up on the script because I want to just do one go at it and have like a nice fluid voiceover if possible. But sometimes I'm just like, okay, that's not perfect, but I kind of just have to go for it because you get in your head too when you're doing voiceovers and you're like, oh, I don't like how I sound, but I'm sure you know how.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I put this together and I put other ones together and I'm voicing it over, and that's not my normal duties, you know, as a producer. I'm behind the scenes. So putting my voice on things is very strange to me, and hearing my voice, I'm like, "Oh my god, that's what I sound like. Oh my goodness." So if you've ever seen me in our tracking booth, it is just like take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4. It is over and over again.
You just have to keep going.
It's very
Keep going.
frustrating. You talked about your friends, your boyfriend, your family. They'll help you out with the shooting. Do they ever get like frustrated? Are they ever like, "Come on, Taylor, geez, like, can we just eat?"
I
Or
know. Yeah, I think I had to train all of them. I'm like, okay, camera eats first. You know,
Yeah.
just like, I'm sorry, like, don't touch, please don't touch. But everyone's like so supportive, and I feel like very blessed to be like surrounded by people that are like, they're like, this is so cool, and we're like, and they kind of can reap some of the benefits, and you know, it's like yeah, I feel very lucky that I have like people around me who are just like, yeah, let's do it, you know.
how many meals a week are you not recording? Like that you go out for? Like when you go out, are you like every one that you go out for is a piece of content, or are there meals that you just say, "No, this is for us and I'm not going to take out my phone at
Yeah.
all. I'm not even going to take pictures for us."
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I think for the most part, I'll snap a picture or two, but I can, you know, if I've already covered the place, or if I'm just having like a meal with my family, or just like want to kick back, I'll try to like keep phones away, because it's just like such a big part of my life. It's like an extension of my arm. I'm just constantly recording. And I think when you live in Hawaii, like food, I don't know if this is everywhere, but you know, like we live in a place where we're surrounded by so much great food, so I'm just constantly eating. And then I definitely have to work out a lot too.
Yeah, because I'm sure people are like, "Geez, she eats out every day." How often are you working out?
Oh, I mean, well, I'm kind of lucky. So my dad and stepmom, they're actually CrossFit coaches at CrossFit Oahu.
So am I. I'm
Really?
a CrossFit coach.
Oh my, which one?
CrossFit 808,
Oh,
right across the street.
oh, that's so cool. I'll
Yeah.
let them know.
Yeah.
But they're like the mom and dad of CrossFit Oahu. Yeah, so I'm very lucky that I have them to like keep me. My dad would be like, Taylor, you need to like get fit. So right now my boyfriend and I are trying out yoga at the Movement Collective. But yeah, I like doing different things. At least like my goal this year was to kind of like focus a little more on like a active, healthy lifestyle. So I'm trying to hit 200 workouts this year, which isn't like too much, but I feel like that's like a nice goal to have.
How are you tracking that?
I take a little selfie every time
and
I
you're
work
gonna
out.
count the pictures at the end of the year?
I just have an album. I'm just adding it, so that'll be fun.
Do you CrossFit at all, or?
I did it for about 2 years, but I think I kind of fell out of it because I was like, I'm a little bit on the weaker side. But you know what? I love CrossFit so much because it's just like everything can be scaled up and down. And I kind of want to get back into it, but I was kind of in my like soft girl, you know, Pilates, yoga.
Well, I just did core power yoga, and that's no joke. So
I know it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I think I'm trying different things, but I'm thinking about getting back into CrossFit this year. It's just like it's so nice that it's like such a quick and fast like workout, 1
An
hour,
hour,
and
yeah.
you're like really like going for it.
You've mentioned it a couple times that this is not your full-time job, that this is your side hustle. Doing just a very scant amount of research online, it says you're a legislative office manager. I don't know how much you can tell us about that, or if you can tell us who you work for,
Yeah.
but tell us whatever you can about that.
Yeah, I work for Representative Scott Nishimoto, so we overlook the Ala Moana, Kakako, Makalimo, Ili, Kapahulu area, and essentially, like, you know, we're really focused on like community issues, and he's really great about like helping out the community, and he's very respectful of like my time, and you know, I really like the balance that I have, because that's very like, I think that fills my cup in the sense like I get to like work on things that feel a little like meaningful, a little less, you know, I feel like my foodie and like Instagram can feel kind of glamorous at times. I kind of like, but it's nice to like get back into the community. We spend a lot of times like at different community events, listening to like the needs of like constituents. But yeah, and I'm thankful that he's supportive of what I do on the side as well. But it's kind of, I have a kind of nice balance going. Very busy life.
Yeah, that was my next question was how does he feel about you being an influencer?
Mm,
Because I think for a lot of people, they think like, oh, I could be an influencer, but what would my work say? What would my boss say?
yeah.
So like,
Um,
you've said he's supportive, but like, has he ever talked to you about it or been like, you know,
what's going on? He is, yeah, I'm very lucky that he's been very supportive. I actually like, you know how life sometimes just like falls into place. I started doing this account in December of 2020. I opened it and I just ran with it. And I also got my job in which I currently work in January of 2021. So I started them about the same time. So thankfully too, he's seen me like start from ground zero on both things. So the fact that he's been able to watch me grow and he's cool about it and he's respectful as long as I have to get my work done. So I'm very thankful that he is like that.
I mean, you have a really expansive and diverse background when it comes to work. You worked for Aloha United Way with like the rental and housing program. Like, how does that translate? Obviously, that translate good to the legislative aid job, but
Mhm.
how does that translate to like social media? Or when you made that decision to do social media as a content creator, where you're like, oh, this is kind of a
I
a
know.
jump.
Yeah, well, initially I will say like in college I studied like public relations and journalism. So I always kind of pictured myself working in like a marketing agency or doing social media marketing. So that was always kind of like my end goal in terms of a career. But I did get a chance to do so. I did get to work for a firm locally for a bit to do some social media marketing. And as much as I enjoyed it, I also I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. It feels like it's just like I don't know if you've ever worked for a marketing agency, but it's like you're constantly on call, you're doing things. But it was a really cool experience, and I wanted to also find something that I felt like could fill my cup a little more in terms of like interacting with people and feeling like I'm kind of making a difference in some sense. And that's kind of I ended up leading me to the legislature here locally. Um, but I feel like skill set wise, like what I'm feel like I'm good at and passionate about is like telling a story and being able to like showcase that through photo and video. So I feel like that is like what I'm good at. So I was like, I want to see what I can do with this, what I can do with like my skill set and just like go for it. At least try, right?
I mean, you are obviously very comfortable in front of cameras and public speaking, and I would imagine that came from you being a cherry blossom contestant.
Oh.
So what is the pageant life
Oh
like?
my gosh. Barely, barely. But yeah, I think for me, I did the Cherry Blossom Festival and I highly recommend it to any like Japanese American woman. I had decided to do it upon moving home from Japan. I was teaching English in Japan and I moved home and I wanted a way to like stay connected to Japan um, while I was, transitioning back to life at home. And it was a really great way to like, connect with other like-minded Japanese American women who are career focused but also like, culturally focused and wanting to learn more. And for me, I'm a huge believer in like networking and like Hawaii is all about who you know and like putting yourself out there. Like we're such a tight knit community that I feel like if you're willing to like put yourself out there, you're gonna certainly reap the benefits. And I'm still very involved in like the JA community nowadays. I'm on the board for like Japan American Society of Hawaii and their next gen group, and I still really enjoy that space. And I think it's like I think in general, I highly recommend networking for everyone and like doing different professional development programs here on the island. There's so many amazing ones.
In my brief research of you, it says you were an assistant language teacher for Japanese. How many languages do you speak?
Oh,
or not? Oh,
I mean,
just English?
I mean, primarily just English
Yeah.
fluently. But yeah, I had the chance to teach English in Shizuoka, Japan. And for that job, it's through the JET program. You actually don't need to speak Japanese fluently at all. Of course, it helps to pick up the language. So I was able to pick up a lot of the language while I was there. But of course, if you don't put it into practice, it's going to easily fade away. So that's something like I would love to pick up again, being able to speak Japanese on a regular basis. But yeah, it's an incredible program. Like doing the JET program, I highly recommend it.
And then going even further back, you're a Punahou grad. What was your time like at Punahou?
Oh, yes. I know lots of people think many things about Punahou, but I feel very blessed that I was able to go and my parents could provide me with that level of education. Um, I actually went late to Punahou. I went to Punahou starting freshman year of high school, and it was certainly like a tough transition. You can immediately tell like the academic level and even like the athletics. It's just like this whole new level, but there's so many different resources, and I do like that. The teachers, they're all in on you. They're very supportive, and it's kind of like a college environment in the sense like everyone has their own schedules. You have to look out for yourself, but if you always ask for help, there's going to be people who are like more than willing to help. But very thankful, and I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary or 10-year reunion this year from Punahou, so I'm excited to like see my classmates, and Punahou Carnival is next weekend. So
Yeah, we'll be doing a lot of coverage of that. We'll have the Malasada cam up and running. It said you played JV soccer. Were you any good, or where did that take you?
You're going back.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking about what I found.
Yeah, I actually was like just like total soccer junkie like my whole life. I played soccer from when I was like 5 years old till like 17. And then I like coached some soccer after. That was like, I felt like that was like a huge part of my identity growing up. And it's really awesome to like grow up playing in team sports in general. You like really learn a lot of great skills, I think. But yeah, there's a part of me that misses it. I actually like used to play futsal when I was living in Japan, and I totally miss that. So I'm like really interested about like playing futsal again here in the islands, although I heard it's in Kapolei, and I'm like a total townie now, so I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of far. But I love soccer so much. It's such a great sport.
You said you had transferred into Punahou. Where did you go prior?
I went to like Maimae Elementary and Konakoa Middle School, so the new Wanu area.
Got it. And that's where you grew up?
I actually had I think it's a district exemption. So I had grown up in like Pearl City, Waipio Gentry area. So central side. So I grew up like
kind of outside of town.
Oh yeah, that's like definitely out of town. I grew up my whole life commuting into town. And my whole family still lives in like that central area, and I think it's like such a lovely place to grow up too. Like my parents live in Waipio Gentry. I love it.
Just another very old question that you probably were not expecting. It said that you had a exchange sister live with you for 3 years.
Oh my gosh, yes.
What was that like? Because I'm sure a lot of listeners and viewers don't know what that experience is like.
Yeah. When I was pretty much all throughout high school, I had a Korean homestay student live with my family. She was attending Leeward Community College, and so she lived with my family. And I was an only child growing up, so for me, she became my sister, and like we're still close to this day. I visited her about 5-6 months ago in Korea, and like she's just like one of my best friends. She's maybe like 5-6 years older than me, 6 years older than me, and she's gonna get married this year, and I'm really hoping and praying that I can make it to her wedding later in the year. But yeah, she's just like my sister, and I feel very fortunate that I had that time to spend with her. And she also like inspired me to study abroad in Korea. When I was a freshman in college, I studied in Korea. I stayed with her family, so I'm super tight with her family. And even though we didn't share the same language, we were able to connect on so many levels.
Does she follow your page, and what does she say about your kind of newfound
Yeah.
fame,
Oh,
if that's what you call it.
I don't know if she like totally understand. I feel like a lot of my family and like that if they're not on social media too much, they're like, I don't know, she does something on the internet. But she's like the best. She's so supportive. She just opened her own cafe in Suwon, Korea, and it's just beautiful. And so when I was there, I was like taking videos. But yeah, so she's like a foodie too. So we grew up being little foodies together.
Or you can do a little review of her place.
I hope so.
Hopefully it's good. Do you see yourself somehow at some point making this food review a full-time job? Is that possible in your head? Is that something you even want to do?
Yeah, for me, it was like an idea in the back of my mind. But I still like it's something that I'm definitely still on the fence about. I really like the balance I have going on, and I think like if I were to ever transition into it being full time, I would want it to like be that and other things as well, like not just like doing food reviews and like activity reviews. So I'd have to really think about it. And I'm also my parents' child, and they want me to have a very stable job. So I don't know if I'd make that transition.
Yeah, I mean, you've said they've been supportive, but were at any point, whether it's your friends, your family, or your boyfriend, were they ever like, what are you doing? You're going to be a food reviewer? You're going to be a content creator? But did you ever get that reaction, or it's all been positive support?
I'm very fortunate. I think both like my mom, dad, step parents, they all think it's super cool, and they're all like very visual arts minded. So especially my mom and dad, they're both pretty like they're really great at like video. They'll help me out, and they like have a good eye for things. So I think I definitely get it from the both of them. They have like both very like visual minds, like the way that they work. So they're very appreciative of what I do, even if they don't completely understand like what it is, but they're like very, very supportive.
What do they do with video and creative?
Oh, well, my dad he takes videos of all his CrossFit workouts. So he's great, and I love that. And my mom, she's actually she's a really great baker, I think, and she's always just helped me with all the different projects I've done growing up.
You ever think about doing kind of the reverse of like cooking videos and stuff?
Yeah, well, I feel like I've tried it here and there to do some cooking things on my page, and I'm like, I don't know how these people do it. It's so like much work, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a mess. It's like a hot mess in here, but it's also fun. I was gonna try to do something soon with a little more like baking and stuff like that.
Last question is, where are you gonna eat tonight?
Oh my god, that's a great question. I'm gonna go to Straits. Yeah, it's the new Singaporean lounge. I'm actually just going for my friend's birthday. But yeah, it's a super cute spot. I feel like it's the hot spot right now for all like my girlfriends, and to like have your celebrations there. Have you been there yet?
I have. It is a very nice spot. They make good drinks, good food, very fun atmosphere. I was there for New Year's actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that must have been fun.
It was. All right, Taylor, thank you so much. I'm gonna let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank
Get some
you
good
so
food.
much.
Thank you for coming in. And that has been Slow Your Scroll. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Slow Your Scroll. For more episodes like this, head to hawaiinewsnow.com/podcasts.